everybody. Welcome to Dead Talk Live, and we
Buddy,
have
welcome to Dead
somebody is
Live.
listening
Buddy,
to
welcome
the
to Dead
audio. There we go. Everybody, welcome to Dead Talk Live. I'm your host Viz, and today we are joined by our two producers in, as you can tell, very cramped space. We're going to be talking about Halloween Kills. So, spoiler alert, okay? I've never done this before, but I'm giving a spoiler alert. The movie just came out yesterday. We are going to be breaking it down. If you have not yet watched the movie and have plans to watch the movie, I would suggest you turn off this broadcast and come back and watch it after you have seen Halloween Kills. We're going to be breaking it down. We're not going to be holding anything back. Spoilers are going to be abundant. But before we get to the movie, first I want to welcome Marco
Hi, everybody.
and Efren.
Hi.
Welcome. They came down to me here in the DC area so we can watch the movie together yesterday, and we did. And, good times. Today, while I spent all day working, these two were out roaming the town. But I'm not bitter. Nah, nah. Captioning 25 episodes is just such an exciting, fun time. I had a blast. Anyway, we're back here now. And before we get to the movie, let's talk about, because this is the first time I actually went to a theater in 3 years. The last time I went to a theater was to see Halloween 2018, 3 years ago. And we pull up, and lo and behold, the parking lot is empty, pretty much empty. If you remove all the employee cars that are there, it was a ghost town. What did you think?
Yeah, the same thing. It was surreal for a Friday night. Big movie opening Friday evening, middle of October, movie theater season time, and it was just it was sad. It was really really sad. It was heartbreaking because I remember we had made plans in the past with all of our friends and family to go to the movies and enjoy it. And the part of the exciting, you get there early, you hang out in the theater a little bit, you talk about the film, you get your popcorn, you sit down to the trailers. It felt good once we got to that, but there was just part of it that is forever going to be gone, and it was a pretty nostalgic. It was sad.
Now, Efren, when we got into the theater itself, we were the first ones there, but there were a few people that did straggle in just before the movie started. You know?
Yeah. And what I found insane is if you remember when we came in, no one even checked our tickets.
Yeah, that's
Anyone
true.
else
I
walked.
There was this woman sitting on a chair, and I went and showed her our tickets, and she's like, "I don't work here." I'm like, "Oh," so we
Waiting for
just walk in, and they're like, "Yeah." So we went to the concession stand to get some drinks and popcorn and stuff, and apparently that's where they check tickets. So I'm not encouraging this, but anybody could have just walked in, gone straight to the auditorium, and watched the movie.
Yeah.
Movie theaters are operating on a skeleton crew, at least here for us in Northern Virginia. But I'm assuming it's not that different across the country. We were in New York last weekend for Comic Con, and we walked past the theater, AMC Theater, that was fully operational, but it was empty. Nobody was coming in or out. So I guess it's, the same thing all the way around. Now, to the movie, all right? Uh, Let me start off by saying this. If you're a fan of Michael Myers, which we all are, and you enjoy Michael Myers going out and bashing and smashing and killing and just going crazy, Halloween Kills is great. It definitely fulfills that part of the franchise without any question. Michael Myers is on a rage. He's angry. Uh, he's just, the kills are phenomenal. And I'm just going to go around and let's just talk about that aspect of Michael Myers, just the character, the psychopath, the killer himself, and get your guys' perspective on that.
Yeah, I agree. He's just been He's been locked up for 40 years, and what I always say that Michael was always a creature of habit. He doesn't know anything outside of Haddonfield, outside of where he is. So it's like grabbing a feral animal and keeping it contained in a cage for a long time and then letting it out. It's going to go back to its natural habitat, and that's exactly what Michael did. He goes right back home. He's been home since the first movie because it picks up literally seconds after the first film ends.
You mean 2018?
Right, exactly. Let's reiterate that the 2018 version. It picks up right from where that movie ends, and it just is a thrill ride from that point on. He's angry. He's bitter. He's just out for kills, and if you're a horror fan, a gore fan, you're gonna love that aspect of it. Right from the moment when you see him, it just kind of starts. It's
definitely over the top.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what were your thoughts on the kill scenes, Efren?
On the kill scenes themselves,
Michael, the kill scenes, his rage.
they were over the top. I mean, and my thing is continuity more than anything. And what I couldn't explain to myself was, it, in a way, many of the scenes take place right after basically the 2018 movie.
Yeah.
And so how do you go from I mean, he wasn't as quiet or as collective, say, as the original Shape in 2018. Yes, he was more brutal. Yes, he was, a lot more violent. But this time around, it's almost like just either on the same night or a few nights later, he just went bonkers. He just
Yeah, and let's just start with the way the film begins. The first half, I mean, not the first half, but the first good 7 to 10 minutes of the film is a flashback to the original Halloween and Halloween night. Now, here's where it gets weird. In 1978, when the original came out, the movie ended when Loomis shoots Michael till he goes over the balcony and falls to the ground. Loomis goes and looks over the balcony, and Michael's gone, and the film ends. This movie picks up in a flashback 40 years prior, and Michael Myers, they don't show the whole him getting shot over the balcony. It's just him walking around Haddonfield as if nothing happened. He's not bleeding, no bullet holes. The police, all they seem to know is that Michael Myers is loose and 3 teenagers are dead. And there's a manhunt going on. The cops are looking for Michael Myers. No, that's where I'm like, and all three of us had the same question. They totally did not address the fact that Loomis shot him, that after Loomis shot him, throughout the entire original Halloween, he was after Laurie. He just got fascinated with her. We still don't know why. It's not his sister.
You remember when the 2 police officers are walking in the street, they do mention that Loomis shot him, and he says Loomis emptied the entire gun on him.
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that. Now I remembered it.
Yeah. But, he's just it just seems odd to me that he falls off the balcony and just, all right, forget Laurie. I'm just going on to something else. And
nobody seems to be freaked out by the fact that this man just took probably 6 or 7 bullets and just got up, fell off a balcony.
Exactly.
He just got up.
And where does he go? He goes home. He goes home. He goes back to the Myers house. So he goes back to the Myers house, and 2 cops basically go there. They search the house. Now, what I liked, is how they in cinematography-wise, how they recreated the dead dog.
Yeah.
Even the broken window.
Right, which we know now it's a dog, because remember in the first film we never saw what it was.
Yeah.
So now we know it was a dog. We always thought it was an animal, but not what it was.
And in the 78 version, Loomis said Michael got hungry.
Right.
And the broken window. Did you notice the broken window?
Yep. With the skylight hitting it.
Yeah, and that was because I think it was a tree branch or something that hit it.
Yeah.
So the cops go into Judith Myers's room, which is the sister that Michael killed as a 6-year-old boy, and they did a great job in
Yeah.
recreating how, when Loomis was there in 78, when he was there with Brackett and the window broke, these two cops are there, and lo and behold, Michael jumps out and attacks one of the cops. He attacks him. He has him pretty much. One cop is being held in a stranglehold with Michael behind him. Another cop is in front of him who has to drop on him with a gun, but Michael is using the other cop as a body shield. So that cop is what's the character's
Frank Hawkins.
Frank Hawkins. Okay, he was in Halloween 2018. He did not die, even though we saw that lunatic doctor of Michael's attempt to kill him when he ran Michael over with his car in Halloween 2018. He's not dead. He is actually discovered by Andy's.
Cameron Elam.
Yeah.
Karen Elam, yeah.
She's discovered by her boyfriend, and he saves him, calls the cops, and he's not dead. He is not dead in this movie. He's very much alive. But that flashback to 1978, he was the other cop that had to drop on Michael, while his partner was being strangled from behind. Now, Efren, what do you think about how the events played out after that? Share what happened after that.
Well, just the way I mean, I that part of the movie I actually didn't mind so much. Um, I really liked the way they played off the original events. I love the way they CGI Donald Pleasance into that one scene.
Oh my God, that was amazing. We have to spend a second talking about that. They
And that
CGI Dr. Loomis, Donald Pleasance, and the CGI work was just absolutely phenomenal.
it caught you off guard. You were like, when Donald Pleasance shows up in that scene, even the hairs on my
Yeah,
arms stood. It's just like, what's he doing there?
yeah, it totally took us all off guard. We were not expecting that. So here's this cop. He has a drop on Michael, who's using his partner as a body shield. The guy that's in the chokehold with Michael behind him, he's literally about to die of strangulation. He has
Well,
maybe 2 or 3 seconds left. So
when you
what do
think
you
about
do with the guy?
what's
Would you go on?
mercy killing, when you think about it,
It was a
it,
mercy killing
it
because,
lives with so much guilt on him when in actuality it was a mercy killing.
yeah, that other cop, had to shoot, or his partner was dead anyways.
Yeah.
Michael, he had like 3 seconds of life left. He shoots, but he gets his partner in the neck.
But you also wonder what it was he saw. He was looking out that window and he saw something.
That's the whole theme of this movie.
Right.
Okay, why don't you expand on that?
Well, like I always said before, going back to other film franchises, we find a way of how the mass murderer has a backstory. So I think what the filmmakers in this new particular reboot is doing is that they're trying to give Michael a reason for his insanity. And like I think I said before, and I do believe, is that the house is the root of where Michael gets his evil from. And that's why he's obsessed with that house and he's obsessed with that room. I believe, and again I might be wrong, it's my opinion, that something is in Michael's mind whispering in his ear that's driving him to do what he's doing. And I think what will happen is eventually we'll see that when the franchise ends in the next movie a year from now. And then as we go further on, we'll tell you more as how the film goes to its end and so forth. But I do believe that Michael's drawn to that house, that entity. And we know from other film franchises how the homes have, like in the Amityville and the Conjuring, and even the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that home is part of the cast. It's another character that we still have to wait and see who they are.
Now, the home in this version is been redone. It's occupied. It's not abandoned. It's not a rundown, crack house. It's occupied by two men, and they really, what they attempted to do in this movie was, like Marco just said, give us, at least to start, to give us a reason as to why Michael is doing what he's doing. Uh, Even Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, is convinced that Michael's after her. It almost, and the writers I think took it a little bit too far with Laurie Strode, because it's like somebody who has this ego. Oh, Michael's after me. He's coming to this hospital. No, Laurie, he's not after you. He just latched on to you in the 1978 version because he saw you come up and drop off the keys to that house because your dad was a realtor. And your dad asked you to drop the keys off because he was showing the Myers house. Michael saw her through the window. We know that from the 1978 original. But Laurie, and she's convinced herself and the people around her that Michael is after her. And for the last 40 years, she has lived her life thinking that Michael is obsessed with her. But from what we learned from Halloween 2018, Michael never even gave her a second thought after he got institutionalized. Let's go back to the Halloween 2018 version when his doctor, who was a nutbag himself, brought Laurie to the house and he hears Laurie's voice. That's when Michael's like, whoa, I remember that voice. He wasn't going to go looking for her. He didn't care about her. And in this movie, it was Laurie Strode's granddaughter. And I got to say, before we go any further, the performances by the entire cast were amazing. Jamie Lee Curtis, Andy Matichak, Judy Greer, and they were all phenomenal.
One thing out for the other. They swapped. It's almost like a retelling. It's a different retelling of it, but it's a retelling of Halloween 6 when you think about it. They swapped Thorn for the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they swapped the whole thing they built up in Halloween 6 about Michael becoming this being while institutionalized and the whole tattoo on his wrist. They swapped that in this version with the root of what makes Michael tick lies in the house. But you would think having this movie be the lead up to the finale that's coming out next year, we would have gotten a little bit more information. But the only information that we got was that Michael, before the night he killed his older sister when he was 6 years old, just looked out that window, her window. That's it. That's it. No other information is given to us. Just that Michael, we even meet, who was it, Lonnie?
Lonnie Lamb, yeah.
Lonnie Lamb, we find out. Lonnie Lamb was, the character was in the original 78. His mom would make him go over to play with Michael.
Yeah.
Okay? And all Lonnie said is he was weird and he would just spend most of the time in his sister's room, the sister that he killed, just looking out the window. Mm-hmm. But that's it. That's all the information we got.
I think we will get information. I think the third movie is going to hopefully
it's possible with that part of the story.
Yeah. I think it's going to eventually explain all that because the filmmakers led us to a lot of great points and a lot of anticipation, a lot of build-up. So I hope that they do deliver that because I'm very curious to find out why he is the way he is.
Me too. I hope so because that's where they're taking this brand. Now remember, Halloween throughout 43 years is a very segmented franchise. Okay? I mean, you have Halloween's 1 through like 7, and then you have H2O, which I think is 7, isn't it? It's somewhere there.
Yeah, it's in.
Yeah, H2O, where they bring Jamie back.
Then you had H2O.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so up to that, and then H2O takes it a different way.
Right.
All right. Young Jamie, played by Danielle Harris, is not. Jamie Laurie Strode never had a child. Well, she did in H2O, but it was a boy. And he's very much alive and he's with her. And Laurie Strode is living in hiding, being the headmistress of a posh school somewhere in California. And Michael finds her and drives cross country. So that's H2O. And then it's fragmented where when Rob Zombie rebooted Halloween and Halloween 2, and now we have this version here. And these three movies, which started with Halloween 2018, they want us, okay, forget everything after the original, which was 1978, and Halloween 2018 is the sequel. And let's pick it
Yeah.
up from there.
Marco found one error in continuity.
What was that?
And we were talking about breakfast today.
Shall I explain it or shall you explain it?
Go ahead.
Well, I just want to read what you said. You're right. The film takes three different versions of Halloween right now. Because remember, it went from 1978 till Halloween 6, and then it went from H2O to Resurrection, and then it went now for the new chapter on. So I'm going to ask a question towards the end of the segment that I want your opinion as well. But let's go back to so technically if Halloween 2, which came out in 1981, never existed, then they did a mess up when Brackett was telling everybody that Michael killed his daughter 40 years ago. We do see a shot of Nancy Loomis with the white shirt with a very young Lindsay. And then there's another scene of her where she's in the car and she gets murdered. That's fine because that was from the first film.
Yeah.
But the last scene was a picture of Nancy Loomis on the gurney with her slow thread. That was a scene from Halloween 2.
Ah, that's
So
right.
that's where
Yeah.
so that should have never been in this film if Halloween 2
Never
never
happened.
existed.
Yeah.
Now they could have totally CGI, which we didn't because it's the original scene, but they could have CGI'd Nancy Loomis into that scene and make it completely different. But so if the filmmakers are watching this, then you're kind of
You see, that's one of the biggest problems that I have with Halloween Kills. Like I said, in the beginning, Michael just walking around as if that whole Loomis shooting him never happened.
Right.
Just saying, screw Laurie, I'm just going to go back to my home. Like, it's getting late. It's getting
Trick-or-treating is
late.
over. Let's go home.
She's not dead yet. Halloween's over. I'll come back next year. I'm going to go take a 1-year nap, come back. Yeah, that bothered me. The discontinuity right there, I didn't like that as well. Them building up to this finale that we assume is going to reveal to us the driving force behind Michael Myers. We got just him looking out a window. That's it. Don't expect anything more. You're not going to get it.
What did you all think of that great scene when they're in the 78 flashback when they're all surrounding Michael and the police start hitting him and they knock him out, and then there's a shot where the great Loomis CGI goes to shoot him, and then Hawkins as a young cop pulls the gun off his head. That was amazing.
I love that.
And that's the guilt that I'm sorry, Efren, and that's the guilt that he feels towards the end when Hawkins and Laurie in the same room, and he goes, "It's not your fault, it's my fault, because if he would have let Loomis shoot him, then I don't believe that the entity that he would have been 40 years later would have been as strong. I think he just would have been that we know of. Well, who knows? But that Hawkins feels that guilt after so many years that it's not Laurie, it's not your fault, it's my fault."
And we're going to get to Michael's why he can't die in a little bit and later on in the show. But I liked all the flashbacks.
I did too. I loved them. The original music, I could have watched a whole movie like that again. It was amazing. It brought me back.
I remember seeing Halloween 2018 3 years ago when it came out. And, the opening scene where the reporters go into Smith's Grove. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, it's coming. And what I was referring to is the opening music.
Right.
Okay? And I was sitting next to Efren last night in the movie theater, and I whispered, okay, it's coming. And I got to tell you guys, it's just the opening credits, but they let me down.
Yeah.
It really did. Yeah. The Halloween Kills opening credits, which for me, it's what gets my blood
that
flowing.
Music is iconic.
The Halloween 2018 with the deflated pumpkin, and that really the theme with sort of like the rock core and the pumpkin inflating. That was awesome. Here in this one, you see sort of a carousel of pumpkins with a candle in them, and the theme music is a lot more subdued. What'd you think
Yeah.
of this opener, Efren?
I mean, I loved it. I actually have a T-shirt like that.
Of this opener of Halloween Kills? You liked
I,
it?
I,
Oh
re-
wow,
I, re-
okay. That surprises me.
I mean, I loved it.
I didn't
You
like
know,
it.
and
The music was
like
too subdued for me.
something just like your heart's beating faster. You're like, here it comes, here it comes.
I
So it's just the anticipation.
yeah, and
We're
that's what
fans waiting for it.
I was waiting for is when because the entire up until that opening theme is it's 1978. It's an entire flashback, and then they go to the opening theme. I'm like, okay, it's coming, it's coming, and it's just they took the Halloween theme music, which they alter in every movie. That's fine. It was just very low key, and it was just you see sort of a carousel of pumpkins with a candle in them. For me, that was like, eh.
I didn't have an opinion. I was so mesmerized by the scenes before that I was just kind of like, I didn't have an opinion of it. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. To be honest with you guys, I didn't even pay attention to that because I was so overwhelmed and amazed by what we saw prior to that. Because we had a good 10 minutes of flashback
Oh
before
yeah.
that came on the screen. And I was just sitting in the theater. I was like, oh my God, that was so good. They could have had Mickey Mouse doing somersaults on screen and I wouldn't have cared because I was so still drawn back to that. So I do actually want to applaud the filmmakers for opening that way because whether you're not a fan of the 2018 version or this one, watching that again, everyone is a fan of the 78 movie.
Oh yeah.
Now, to go back to what I was saying before, because I want your opinion. So now we've seen three different storyline arcs of the Halloween films. We have the original one that went up to Halloween H2O, and then we have H2O to Resurrection, and then we have this new trilogy. Which one do you feel is the best arc to end for Michael?
From what
I
we've
still
seen so
Yes,
far.
and let's pretend that in your mind you have Halloween ends the way you want it to end, the way you wanted to finish it. How would you feel? Like, which one do you think is the best one?
Well, if the third one really shifts course from the second one and they give us a nice good ending to Michael Myers, and when I say good ending, I will say right now, if they make it completely paranormal as to why Michael is what he is, I will be disappointed.
Okay,
And I'm a huge paranormal
right.
fan.
Okay, no, that's fine.
But for me, it's the original.
How about you, F?
Yeah, it was the original too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, let's go. Say that
I
again?
like the Thorn storyline on myself.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
I-
got the
it-
tattoo. He's got
Yeah.
the tattoo.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's go to this part now. All right. Let's talk about the characters that they brought back. They brought back almost everyone from the original. Brackett, the sheriff.
Charles Cyphers,
They brought back Lindsay,
Kyle Richards.
the girl that Annie was babysitting, and Tommy Doyle.
Yeah.
And Tommy Doyle is the one that Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis, was babysitting. They brought back Nurse Marion,
Yep. Marion Stevens.
who's played by
Nancy Stevens plays Marion Chambers.
Chambers. Yeah, they brought back Marion's character. So before we move any further, not dissecting their characters, but just the fact that they brought those characters back, necessary or not necessary?
I think that was just for the fans.
I agree.
Not necessary.
Not necessary.
I mean, I first of all, I find it very unrealistic that a character like Lindsay, played by Kyle Richards, who you can tell from the beginning of the movie has a lot of rings, is very. You could tell she's an artistic woman. She wouldn't be living in Haddonfield 40 years later. I'm sorry, Tommy maybe because he's friends with Lonnie and all that.
Oh, we're gonna get to Tommy in a
Yeah,
bit.
but I don't see Lindsay living in Haddonfield after 40 years.
The nurse, she never even lived in Haddonfield.
So, Efren, what do you think? Necessary or
No, I mean the nurse, she never even lived in Haddonfield.
No,
that's true?
So why was she there?
yeah,
The only thing I could think of, it was they are celebrating. Well, celebrating is a bad word. 40 years since the Michael Myers incident.
Commemorating.
That's the only reason I can think of as why she's
Yeah,
there.
but did they celebrate 30 years or 20 years that we didn't see? Is it
No.
something that exactly? So I don't know. Yeah, great for the fans. I love to see them, but unnecessary. It just
I mean, the fact, I liked that the actual actors
yes,
who were in the 78 got brought back. Brackett and Nurse Marion, those
yeah,
are the only
yeah,
two,
yeah.
right?
No, and Carl Richards.
Lindsay, that was the real
Yeah, Carl
Lindsay.
Richards, the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. If everyone knows who that she is,
Oh,
yeah,
so that is the real Lindsay
yeah,
from the
that's Carl
78.
Richards. Yeah,
Okay, okay. So I
The
like
real
that.
time.
Yeah, I like the fact that they brought back the actors. Now, with that said, let's talk about Tommy Doyle in this one. Played by Anthony Michael Hall, who's a great actor.
to reiterate that, just before that, they originally asked Paul Rudd to come back.
Now, explain who Paul Rudd is in the
Yeah,
franchise.
so Paul Rudd was actually Tommy Doyle in Halloween 6: The Curse of Michael Myers, which actually explained his origin, and that was one of Paul Rudd's first films. And when David Gordon Green approached him for the role, he really was interested, but they just could not come up with an agreement because he was too busy filming the Marvel Universe films and so forth. But I think that would have been a great role for him to come back to.
And for those guys who don't know who Paul Rudd is, he plays Ant-Man in the Marvel Cinema Universe. The Avengers, Ant-Man.
Yeah.
That's he played Tommy Doyle in Halloween 6. So that's who they wanted, but ultimately didn't work out. And they brought in Anthony Michael Hall, who's a brilliant actor. It's just that we're going to get into the writing for the character of Tommy Doyle. Tommy Doyle's character was completely botched in this movie. Completely botched. Tommy Doyle rallied a mob, got an innocent man killed in the movie, and was nothing but a hothead. And he was full of corny one-liners in the movie. He goes up to Laurie while she's laying in a hospital bed, and he tells her, Laurie, you protected me 40 years ago. Tonight, I'm going to protect you. Very corny, very cheesy. Just the character of Tommy Doyle.
Yeah, I just,
What did you think?
Again, not necessarily. I wouldn't mind him if he just kind of stepped back. As I don't understand why they were trying to make him the star and the protagonist. It just made the police inadequate in their job, and it goes back to the social commentary that's going on in the world right now again about mobs and so forth. Let the police do what they're supposed to do. He was under the impression that they were never going to do the job right, and they failed and so forth. And it just kind of made it. It just
What do you think,
yeah.
Efren?
So one is his character was written in such an annoying way. He was like that. Remember that one character in Star Wars Episode 1?
Jar Jar? Jar Jar
I'm
Binks?
sorry, it was
Jar Jar Binks?
yeah.
Yeah.
He was Jar Jar Binks of Halloween Kills.
That's a good analogy. Okay.
So you wanted him to die. He had to die.
I was actually, you know that scene where they come out of the bar? I was hoping he would die. When
Yeah.
it, when
And
the
I've read some reviews where they call him the heart of the movie, and I'm thinking, what? It's
No.
impossible.
Michael's the heart of the movie.
That's
no.
the first thing.
Yeah.
And then there's the social commentary part of it, which,
Doesn't
as
belong
horror
in the
fans-
Halloween franchise.
as horror fans, we all know George Romero perfected that.
Yeah.
Since the 60s. And even when you think of recent movies that have pulled off a social commentary, like No One Gets Out Alive, they did it really well.
Yeah.
The way to go about a social commentary in a horror movie is if it's in the background and it's kind of unnoticeable
Yeah.
to a lot of
Subtle.
people.
So let me explain how they did it in Halloween Kills, the social commentary that Efren is talking about. We are living in a divided country. That's no secret, okay? The country is divided, and they put that into this movie. And it played out when Tommy Doyle got pretty much the whole town riled up with this very stupid, cheesy line, "Evil dies tonight." And everybody was chanting, "Evil dies tonight. Evil dies tonight." It became annoying. And if you guys remember from Halloween 2018, a lot of the inmates escaped from that bus. But there was one inmate that had not been caught yet and was still on the loose. It was the guy in
Mr.
2018
Tivoli, the one with the umbrella.
with the umbrella in the beginning when the journalist in 2018 tried to approach Michael. He's still alive, and they bring him back for this one. This is a man who needs to be in a mental hospital. He's sort of like a gentle giant. He's not dangerous to anybody, and he's scared. He doesn't know where to go to find safety. He was being transported from one hospital to another. The next thing you know, his bus, now we know, was rigged and got into the accident so Michael can escape. He finds he finds himself in the hospital looking for help, and everyone, because of Tommy Doyle's character, thinks that's Michael Myers. So he gets Tommy Doyle's character, played by Anthony Michael Hall, gets everybody riled up, and the whole mob goes after this poor patient. And Laurie's daughter, played by Judy Greer, what's her character's name? Karen. Karen realizes that that's not Michael Myers. So what she does is she locks him in a corridor, a hallway, with doors on either end of the hallway. Now, this is where the social commentary, like Efren just said, becomes blatantly obvious. Both sides, each door in the hallway is surrounded by a mob of people that think that's Michael Myers and they want to kill him. And in the middle, you have this patient who is scared for his life. So what does he do? He breaks the window, he gets onto the ledge and jumps to his death. Sort of like metaphorically speaking, he is America.
Yeah.
America is divided and he's gone off the cliff. It was just so, I have no problem with social commentary. Horror is a great place, is a great genre for social commentary, but it was just like Efren said, if it's done nicely, subtly, and it blends into the storyline, it's great. But the writers and the director went out of their way. Again, David Gordon Green is a great director. Anthony Michael Hall is a great actor. But something got missed along the line here, because they made it way too obvious that they were trying to send a message and use Halloween Kills to make their statement on the state of America today. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. It's sort of like the 1930s version of Frankenstein's monster, if you think of it that way. And this poor man was looked at the monster, and the townspeople with the fires and the pitchforks were out to kill the monster. But unfortunately, we know, in both movies died frantically, because like the monster that we know as Dr. Frankenstein's invention, he's a gentle giant. He doesn't know, he's scared. He doesn't know what he is and who is, and that's what Mr. Tivoli, his character, was as well. He just got lost, and I love that scene of compassion between Karen and him.
Yeah.
When you see the hand from the hallway and he reaches over, so you can tell that there was a warmth of trust right there.
Yeah.
I would have loved for that scene to have gone completely 180 and have him not jump out the window and have him caught and have him saved and so forth. I think it would have brought a little bit of more, it would have humanized the mob a little bit. It would have made us feel sympathy for them. So when we go to the end, which I'm not going to spoil, we'll talk about later on, when we go to the end and whatever happens to the townspeople, I was rooting for them to die. I really was. I was like, I'm sorry, there was not one person in that scene that I wanted to live. I'm like, you know what? You're all a bunch of scumbags.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
You're a bunch of scumbags.
And Tommy Doyle is the one that got it all started. Yeah. What do you think of your thoughts on that hallway scene?
Yeah, I mean, that was my whole problem with that hallway scene, is that it almost made that particular part of the movie about the social commentary, and that's what I kind of lost interest in that part of the movie
Did
because
they?
it's just,
It was very graphic. They actually showed the body after it landed. That was
Yeah.
a very
yeah,
graphic
and
scene.
that was unnecessary.
I agree.
It's violence for the sakes of violence and gore for the sakes of gore, and that's a cheap thrill.
Yeah, especially when suicide apparently is so apparent these days that people jumping off their buildings and so forth.
I mean, it's a serious topic, and I think it got a little bit exploited because they showed the body. And yeah, this is a horror movie. This is Michael Myers, and yeah, he's smashing heads, stabbing people, breaking necks in the most horrific ways. But that's what Halloween is. We go in and expecting that.
It is, but
Seeing,
I've never looked at any Halloween movie as torture porn, and part
no,
of it felt like
No.
torture porn at that point.
yeah, but when he jumped off, he wasn't killed by Michael. He took his own life because he was scared, and to
Hmm.
show it what he looked like afterwards was unnecessary. It was
Yeah,
unnecessary. It wasn't uh
Yeah,
didn't
there
need to
was
be
already a
there.
lot of gore in the film.
Yeah.
They could have tamed that scene a little bit better.
Yeah,
There
and
was a lot of gore.
yeah. Now let's move on uh to act 3 of the movie. Okay, the final act of the movie. They finally figure out, I think it's Lonnie, they start tracking Michael's movements and they realize he's going back home. Uh just like
the obvious.
yeah, like he did in the beginning of the film when they flash back to 1978. He just wanted to go back home. So he does go back home. Now, the home is not unoccupied anymore. People are living there. It's occupied by an LGBT couple. And here's where I have another part. I like the characters, the couple, the two men who played the couple. They were great. It's just this, real fun couple. Yeah, they bought the Myers house because it was the Myers house. But you mean they were just a nice, normal couple. Although, of course, Michael kills him. And then Michael, from the beginning, has a way of displaying his bodies. Okay, we know that.
Yeah.
Why he does that, I don't know. Especially with the rage that we have seen from 2018 movie and this one. Why he takes the time to model the bodies. But what he does is when he kills this LGBT couple, he sits one up on the floor and the other one is laying in his lap. Now,
And then he plays music for them.
and he plays music for them. How did you take that?
I well, in that particular scene or in the
That
setting
scene,
up,
the modeling.
I think that Michael has a sense of humor where he likes to display his work. He has an ego. He likes to display his work for people, like the way he did with Vicky from the 2018 version when he put her in the sheet. He's got this. He. I think he's telling the towns to go.
Colette says it's his calling card.
It could be. It could be the difference why he might be considered a serial killer and not a mass murderer because he has a pattern. But I think
That
it's
just said it right there. He's a mass murderer. He's
right.
not a serial or a signature
Yeah,
killer.
I think it's his way of saying "f you" to the people of Haddonfield that I've won. And going back to the LGBT couple, thank you for bringing that up. What I loved about Big John and Little John, and that's their names. I didn't make that
That
up.
is their names.
Is
Yeah.
the fact that they. What I like about Jason Blum, and I think that he had to do with it because I think Jason Blum is out himself, is that he took them out of the cliche gay couple and made them fearless. Which I loved.
Badasses.
The fact that
that I liked.
they were ready to take
I
him
kinda
on
found it-
and so
I
forth.
did like the fact that two comedians were used.
Again, they're just yeah. But I like the fact that
But they were fearless.
they were very feeless. They were
were
very like
fearless.
you're in my house and so forth. And me being a member of the LGBT community, I appreciate that because again, thank you for the producers for kind of breaking barriers again and not making them because I would have called the cops and I would have out of the house.
Yeah.
That's just it. It's
But they stood up.
they stood up to him, and
they
I
stood
think
up.
that's amazing. And they were ready, and I love the fact that they had their little mating calls. Big John, Little John, they knew that where they were in the house. I thought that was very well done to kind of know that you're around. And then that moment when you don't hear Little John, you're like, okay, we know that something's wrong. But there was a really cool scene because I think that couple knew of who Michael was
Oh
because
yeah.
when
They did.
he's in the bedroom and he
They
turns
did.
around. But I thought for a minute that Big John knew Michael because the
No.
way he spoke his name, it's like me saying, "Hey, Efren,
That
how are
wasn't
you?"
Big John. That was Little
Little
John.
John, I'm sorry. Yeah, like I kind of felt like they knew each other. So I'm like, okay, does this person know each
Well,
other?
well, you know what it is? It's just that first of all, they bought the Myers
Yeah, they
house.
know exactly who they were getting.
They know
involved with.
exactly
Yeah,
who. I mean,
yeah.
they're like. If you guys saw the finale of American Horror Stories with the whole murder house and the couple
Yeah.
in the beginning, that oh my God, we're in the murder house until it becomes real.
Really, yeah.
When it becomes real,
Exactly.
stuff changes. It's not so fun
Only at
anymore.
that point they were already dead.
So let's moving along. Michael Myers kills them. Andy Matichak characters. He's pretty much has her on her knees, ready to kill her. And Andy Matichak, who plays Laurie Strode's granddaughter,
Allison.
Allison, was phenomenal. So, but she's a brilliant actor. If you guys have seen her in other stuff like Son, she is a lead actress. She can carry a movie without any question. Anyway, she's on her knees. Michael pretty much is about getting ready to stab her, and she's like, do it," like egging him on because she knows he's got the upper hand. She's about to die, and she's not going to give him the satisfaction of begging and pleading for her life. So she's begging him to do it. But just before he has a chance to kill her, she's not dead. She doesn't die in this movie. Her mother, Laurie Strode's daughter, comes in with a pitchfork and stabs Michael square in the back. Okay, so that makes Michael turn his attention from Allison to Laurie Strode's daughter, Karen. And what she does is she leads him out of the house onto the street, and then she looks at him and says, "Gotcha." They had a trap. The whole town comes in, surround Michael Myers. Okay? And what I forgot to mention, and it's huge, is Michael gets unmasked.
Yes.
Was it Allison or Karen?
Karen pulls his mask and
Yeah.
she has it. She goes, "You want this?" She goes, "Come and get it."
That's what she used to lure him out. She got his mask off. Now, what I found funny, being a bald man myself, is you see the back of Michael Myers' head, who we know is bald, but without the mask, he's just a 60-something-year-old bald man wearing a mechanic's overalls. Not intimidating at all.
He looked like the Earth science teacher from high school. Give me a break.
So by them unmasking him, we never got a clear shot of his face, okay? But we got a clear view of the back of his head, the side, his profile, and, Karen lures him out into the street, drops the mask on the floor. He gets surrounded by the townsfolk, and he reaches down, picks up the mask, and puts it back on, and is just still. He doesn't move. And of course, the townspeople come in, baseball bats, crowbars, start taking swings at him. Swing, swing, swing. Then the fatal shots, okay? Did he get actually shot by a gun?
Yeah, 3 times.
Yeah.
3 or 4, yeah.
What death blows do you remember?
It was the knife at the end that Karen put
Well,
in.
we're going to get to that because there were a bunch of blows.
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
What blows do you remember, Ephraim, that will be considered fatal?
Well, just the bullet shots, obviously.
The
But-
bu-
But this was Michael Myers. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
what they
people
thought,
watched a horror movie in their lives.
what Karen does, Jamie Lee Curtis's daughter, what we all think is, well, we're as the audience supposed to think, is the death blow that kills him, is she puts a knife right through picture Michael Myers laying on the cement on the street, face down. What she does is take his knife and literally puts it down the base of his skull through his neck. Essentially, if it was a regular person, she severed his spine from the neck down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Severed it. I mean, it was just boom, right then and there. And they're all shouting, "I got him. He's dead. We
Evil is
got
dead.
him." And that was the second time in the movie we heard that. We heard it in the beginning when Laurie Strode and daughter and granddaughter went to the hospital. They thought he burned in that fire. We got him. We got him. No, you didn't. Okay, he came back then, and guess what? With the knife in the spine, just below his skull, he's not dead. The dude gets up and he starts slaughtering people. I mean, he starts slaughtering the town one, two at a time. Now, we all know about the suspension of disbelief in movies. That's what makes movies so fun. But for me, there is a limit on the suspension of disbelief. Now, for Efren, did they surpass your limit when it comes to Michael Myers and the suspension of disbelief that nothing will kill him?
They actually did it with the fireman.
That he survived that fire?
No, that he went through that many firemen.
Yeah, he took out a whole ladder company.
I mean, it wasn't just that. If you remember, one of them puts one of those fire hoses right up against him. That thing would have blown him 2 blocks away.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny, like I said, me and Efren were sitting next to each other, and as he was laying supposedly dead on the ground, and she drops the knife, we're like, why does she drop the knife? I was telling Efren I would cut the head off, send it to Australia. One leg goes to South America, the other one to Europe.
You dismember him. You don't stop.
I wouldn't even burn him because I would think the dude would somehow pull himself
Yeah,
back from
you
the
don't burn
ashes.
him. You dismember him. Maybe you'll burn to pieces. But you
Yeah.
don't.
I mean, put each part in a different continent and seal it up with cement. But he gets up.
Yeah, I
He
love
gets
that
up.
scene
Consider
where you
ourselves.
see his hand kind of moving towards the knife,
Yeah.
and then it just kind of, and then the next set of scenes are just like a ninja movie. Like picture Kill Bill when the bride is massacring Oren's army.
Yeah.
Just cuts and knives and stabs, and again they do kill Sheriff Brackett. He does kill Tommy eventually. He does get. Though we assume he killed him. He gets a knife through his stomach, but that's
hope-
where I.
Oh, I
said
hope
ear-
they don't bring back. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
oh,
hope
God.
that's what like I said up earlier that those people were part of the mob. I was happy that they were gone.
If
mean,
I
they-
hear that Tommy Doyle is coming back in the third one, that's a strike already before I even see the
I know.
movie.
I really would think twice about even watching it.
Yeah, if they bring back the cat, if he's not dead, I would be like, oh my God, oh my God. So Michael's alive. I just take that scene of him butchering the town. I thought that was phenomenal.
That was great. That was absolutely. That was David Gordon Green at his best and what he does to give you the shock factor, the value. It again that particular scene, I was rooting for him
But you
because
know what?
I knew what the lynch mob did earlier. That's what I'm saying.
After the unmasking, for me, it was watching Mr. Wise.
But do you think that mask? Because if you
Science
notice,
teacher slaughtering a crowd.
yeah.
And I just can't see it anymore.
But Efren, notice something else. When he took the mask off, when Karen took his mask off and he was vulnerable, you could tell that he was vulnerable. That mask gave him, it just provided him like the confidence and the strength that he needs to be who he is.
Look
So-
what Colette just said, just what you think as well. He has to die in the house.
Yeah, see?
That's what Marco said, Colette. The only way to kill Michael, because we're running out of options here, is he has to die in that house.
Right.
And I have no other better
Yeah.
explanation.
And that, we'll talk about that if we have time.
We're almost out of
yeah,
time.
well, so going back to finishing after that, we do see him, the scene, and then there's kind of like a quiet scene where Karen and the police are outside. I think it's the Myers house,
Yeah, it is.
and they're talking, and they think it's over, and then there's I forgot already, but there's a shot where he's looking inside his bedroom, and Karen's in the house.
Yeah.
And Michael comes behind him, and again, a spoiler, he does end up butchering Karen to death.
Yeah,
So she
yeah.
does die in this movie that we know of.
Supposedly.
And then
now now he really is the boogeyman. He
yeah,
can just
and now
hear and
he's
see.
and the movie ends with the theme song and him looking out the window like the way he did as a child years ago. So obviously we're going to see the conclusion of that in the next chapter.
And I want to mention, okay, Halloween Kills pays tribute to the original Halloween, obviously. Halloween 2, and a lot of people are going to miss the tribute to Halloween 2. I'm going to tell it to you. I think Efren might have missed it too. And Halloween 3, which is not a Michael Myers movie.
No.
Halloween 3.
But that's actually my favorite scene is when they pay tribute to Season of the Witch.
Yeah, okay. They use the 3 masks used in Season of the Witch. For anybody that's seen Halloween 3, they use them in Halloween
Also
Kills.
in the first one too, in
Yeah,
2018.
yeah. The witch, the pumpkin head,
And the skeleton.
and the skeleton. They use those 3 masks in this movie. Very obviously, it's prominent. It's cool.
Yeah.
Now, the Halloween 2 reference, that's literally a split second on the screen that I caught. I don't know if you guys caught it. When they're outside of Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, the paramedic, they show his back, his uniform. It's the same logo, Efren, from the original Halloween 2 logo of the hospital.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a split second.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
HMH.
Yeah, it was the same logo, everything, and it's a split second. So that was a tribute to Halloween 2, Halloween 1, that's obvious, and Halloween 3, the masks. It's cool that they pay tribute to the first 3 movies. I think it's cool that they acknowledge Season of the
There's a
Witch.
to Halloween 4 too, you know.
Yeah. We've all said Halloween 3 on its own, not with the Halloween name, is a good movie.
It is.
Yeah, it's just that they attached the Halloween name to it, and that's why it went down the wrong path. We're pretty much out of time, but before we go, I want to go around the 3 of us here, and on a scale of 1 to 10, obviously 1 worst, 10 to bad. Efren, what do you rate this movie?
For me, it's going to be a 4.
Marco?
I really was unhappy.
If we take out the hospital scenes,
No,
the
you
way
take
it
out
is,
the movie.
I would say I'm going to give it a 7 because I really enjoyed the kills and I really, really love the flashbacks.
I've been thinking about this all day as well, and I'm gonna go with a 4.
Wow,
as well.
killed it.
Yeah. I was. The story was just within this movie, it was very fragmented. There's a bar scene, then there's the hospital, and then there's Michael, and that's perfectly fine in film. But
I didn't know what it wanted to be.
But in a good film, it all gets tied together. And the perfect example I have on how that was done brilliantly is Doctor Sleep. Doctor Sleep starts off with 3. You think you're watching an anthology until it's beautifully tied together in the last act. In this movie, they never tied all the different segments together. It just simply...
It's done sloppily.
Yeah, it was sloppily. I wish there was a better word, but it was just not 3, there were several disorganized fragments, and it puts together this 100-minute movie, So overall, Halloween 2018 got me so juiced up. It was such an amazing film to reboot this franchise, and I don't know where they went wrong with Halloween Kills. Now, we still have 1 more to go that's coming out next Halloween. Let's hope they really give us, maybe finally an explanation as to why Michael is why he is and why he does what he does. Last thing before we go, what are your expectations for Halloween Ends?
Well, a spoiler says that it time jumps the next film. So I have a feeling it's going to be a year later. And according to the scene at the end between Hawkins and Laurie, where they talk about evil dying and evil being back to the house and so forth, I want this chapter to end well, and I really want to put Michael to bed, but I want him to put to bed in a way where it explained to us who he was. Because if obviously we know that he is the boogeyman, you can't kill him that easily, but there's got to be a way that they have to figure out that ties to them. So I'm really looking forward to it. I am really looking forward and see and so forth.
So what are you looking forward to for the last one? Well, what do you hope to see?
I'd like to see them make Laurie even remotely relevant to the story anymore.
Right.
She wasn't relevant in this one.
I think Allison is going to take on the helms in the 3rd movie, especially now that she finds out that her mother's dead.
Beyond that, Is that all what you're looking for the end for the last movie, Efren? I mean, what do you
No,
what do you want?
I do want to. I want them to make. First of all, I want them to kind of explain Michael Myers' rage.
Yeah,
In every other Halloween, yeah, the kills were always some were creative, some were like any other slasher movie, and yeah, as a fan, I kind of watched them for that too. But the brutality went over the top in this one, to the point where after a while, I was like, okay, enough already. Come on,
for me,
it's cool.
yeah, for me, it's very simple. Let's finally, because they brought it up that we started getting this Michael Myers backstory before the age of 6. No other movie in the Halloween franchise is there a mention of anything Michael before the age of 6. In Halloween Kills, we get that. So now they started it. They have to close it out properly.
They better close it.
They have to close it out because they opened Pandora's box that no other film dared go down in the Halloween franchise. They did it. Now, let's hope they close it out well. The only thing I would be disappointed in, that I have thought of, if they make it a completely supernatural paranormal thing. The paranormal does not belong in the Halloween franchise. This is not a demon. This is not a demon possessing Michael
It was
Myers.
like Friday the 13th when when Jason goes to hell.
Yeah.
It was going too far sometimes,
Yeah. So that's all I want. They open the box. You close it out properly.
I do agree with you with the story prior to him being 6 years old. That's what Sci-Fi is doing now with the Chucky series.
Yeah.
Is that we're going to see William Lee as a child, which is great because we want to know how he became who and why. Yeah. So that is great that you mentioned that, because I would love to see Michael from the time he's born and why and so forth. So
beyond just what they gave us in this movie, which is him just looking out a window. Anyway, guys, we are out of time. Actually, we're past the 1 hour mark. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for those who didn't watch, who are planning on watching. As we said in the beginning, come back after you watch the movie. Let us know if you agree, disagree with us. Our, ratings range from a 7 to a 4. So there's varying opinions here. And we'd love to hear, your guys' opinion as well. Please comment on our video, because we're trying to gauge what everyone else is thinking as well. So please share, every opinion is welcome. I want to thank Efren and Marco, our executive producers, for coming into town with me so we can all watch it together. It's been decades since all three of us have been to the movies together, and that alone was worth it. Right. So thank you guys for coming down. And until next time, guys, on behalf of Efren, Marco, and myself, stay safe and always stay walking. Good night,
everyone.